What's up, everybody? It's the Orange and Black Insider Bengals podcast on the Cincy Jungle Podcast Network. I'm Anthony Cosenza, joined by my partner in crime, as usual, John Sheeran. John, I know you are in an especially good mood today because we've got a couple of special guests. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing better than the Reds, who are currently getting no hit right now on opening day. So this is the place to be at right now.
Yeah, and that ownership group has not been befriending its fan base of late, from what I understand from some commentary and other things. I am a little detached from that, geographically speaking, but we're not here to talk about the Reds. We're here to talk about the Bengals, and we are doing so with two very special guests. We are missing half of their crew, but we are still pleased to be joined both by Whitney and Kayla of Tigress Talk, the great Bengals podcast that they head up on YouTube. Ladies, how we doing?
Doing good.
Yeah, great.
Awesome.
I don't follow the Reds that close, so I'm doing spectacular.
There was something I saw on Twitter earlier today that was like, oh man, there's I guess a response to some other quotes that ownership had made, and I don't know. It's good. It's good that we are not having the same ownership gripes on the Bengals side of things that we had for years and years.
It's a great day to be Mike Brown, I'll tell you.
It is. He's got to be just loving life, right? I mean, good Lord, after all of that. Well, I'm going to let you ladies introduce yourself before we kind of kick things off. Just to let folks know, this is our usual listener questions live show. I know we usually do this on Friday afternoons, but special guests call for a special day and time. So get those questions to us. You can call or text 949-542-6241. You can email the obinsider@gmail.com. Tweet at us at Cincy Jungle. You can tweet John. You can tweet myself. You can tweet at Bengals OBI. Maybe one of the ladies as well. They can give you their Twitter accounts in just a second. And of course, we have a lot of live chats going on YouTube, on the Cincy Jungle Facebook page, and on a post on cincyjungle.com. So no excuses. Play like a champion. Get your questions in. Whitney, I am going to start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, how you became a Bengals fan, and how people can kind of follow you on Twitter and whatnot.
Yeah, I've been a Bengals fan since I remember, since the toddler years, which was my pinnacle, really. It's all been downhill since then. But Bengals fan through and through, born and raised on the east side of Cincinnati, Claremont County. Folks, hi. Moved to Northern Kentucky in my adult life, lived there forever until I moved to Florida a couple years ago. So now I'm holding it down, Cincinnati South.
I like it. And your Twitter account, I know you ladies have like this army of following between your crew here. Where can people follow you on Twitter?
I'm at Bengals Whitney.
There you go. Simple enough. I like it. Kayla, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to hear about your channel as well and what you ladies are doing on Tigress Talk. But how'd you become a Bengals fan? You were telling us before we started that you're kind of in the area, but tell us a little bit about yourself before we field some questions from Bengals fans.
Yeah, I was born into this life. My dad is a huge fan, and so I've been watching with him since I was in diapers, and we have season tickets together, and I live in Northern Kentucky. So
Northern Kentucky. And where can folks find you on Twitter?
Oh. Yeah, K-Swelbs. So
K-Swelbs, there you go, right there on the name tag. I like it. I'm going to share this real quick as we start gathering up some questions and whatnot. This is the Tigress Talk YouTube page. And you will see here, there is proof. Subscribed right there. Subscribed. We are subscribed. Yeah. Tell us about the channel and what you ladies are doing. I don't know which one of you wants to take the lead on that, but tell us a little bit about that and your show, what you ladies do, talk about, and everything.
Go for it, Swelbs.
So we normally do every week of a podcast, but now that we're in the off season, we're kind of a little bit of a slower pace, just doing shows here and there, but we have some exciting stuff coming up this summer. But we do have a giveaway happening once we get to 1,000 subscribers. Is that right, Whitney?
Yeah.
So there's incentive to subscribe if you're over there right now.
And it's a game worn jersey, guys. It's like it's a good one.
It's a great giveaway. So
yes.
I like it. Well, we shared the link in the live chats there, so hopefully we can get you some subscribers. And thanks for coming on the show and sharing your insight, giving us your time. I know, Whitney, you had said you rushed through dinner, and Kayla, you rushed after work and all kinds of different things. So we appreciate you making time. John, I always know you love to make time for me in the show, so thank you as well. John, do you want to bat lead off here? Where are we going?
I think we got a super chat from our good friend Mr. Whispers, so we're gonna go to that one first. This question is: do you all believe the fact that the Bengals signed Trey Flowers, quote, parentheses, I loved it though, instead of another starting quality cornerback, signifies a greater likelihood of drafting a cornerback first than any other position? So yeah, I mean, cornerback seems to be one of the favorites to be picked with the first round pick, and they haven't really done anything at that position aside from retaining both Eli Apple and Trey Flowers. But Whitney, let's start with you. Like, what do you think that their overall plan at cornerback kind of means from free agency going into the draft? Is this kind of signifying anything, or is this more of just Trey Flowers is pretty good and, there's no reason not to bring him back?
Well, I think I'd go with the latter. How did they not sign Trey Flowers? Like, how did they not re-sign him? And then the deal's so cheap. Like we stole, so, and the way he came on last year and the fact that it's not our strongest position, his tight end coverage, I think it's just does not make any sense on any planet that we don't re-sign him. It could mean, they're meeting with what quarterback is it? They're meeting with the CB, I know, from the draft, and it's the most popular choice in the front running to possibly go first for us. But I don't know that it makes a significant statement that that's definitely what we're going to do. I wouldn't go that far.
I think Booth is the name that we met with. Yeah, so Andrew Booth, cornerback from Clemson. He could be definitely an option in the first round. But like Kayla, like aside from Booth, like are there any other names that you've really been attuned with in the draft process? And like where do you see like Flowers going forward in this defense? Do you see his like role kind of evolving, or is it more just, hey, he's pretty good at this, might as well keep doing it,
Yeah, I definitely don't think that it's going to prevent us from drafting another depth cornerback either. But as far as, I honestly don't know a ton about the draft prospects other than like the big five that everyone's been talking about. But Linderbaum at center would be a good option, I think. That's kind of, or I'd be fine trading back and just adding to depth as well. So that's kind of where I'm.
I feel you, because we've just really started talking about the draft. Honestly, it's been a lot to decompress from the Super Bowl and just the season in general, and then free agency and everything. Like, we were so late on the draft. Like,
yeah,
me and Anthony were talking about this like a couple weeks ago. We usually start in like November and December, and we get to know these names, but we're just all really trying to catch up right now. So yeah, I only know a handful of names, to be honest with you, like back in front of like their full profiles right now.
Yeah.
It's a good problem to have. There's been plenty of seasons where we've been obsessed about the draft before the regular season's even done. And that sucks. Like, nobody wants that. So yeah, I don't know a ton about the draft prospects either. Where the girls and I talk all the time. I don't think any of us are big college followers anyway. But yeah, as far as Trey Flowers is concerned, I'm big fan of that signing, and it makes complete sense for us.
Well, the good news is we are not scouts, so we don't have to follow the draft throughout the entire season. So.
That's right. For me, Flowers just makes a lot of sense for what the team wants to do on defense, and I think a Flowers signing and the Bengals either splashing in free agency or getting a high draft pick at corner, that's two totally different things, because Flowers is going to be kind of an inside corner, use short areas of the field to cover the tight ends, maybe a slot receiver here and there, and he's effective at it. So, I think that was a good move by the Bengals, as you all mentioned, very affordable move, and one that's just, he's a niche player, but it's an important niche, right? So I like that move, and I think this team has shown a penchant that they like first round corners in their history as a franchise. They like to pick corners in the first round. You can go William Jackson, Drake Kirkpatrick, Leon Hall, Jonathan Joseph. Recent history shows they like their first round corners. Darquez Denard, another one in there. So, it would not surprise me at all. There are a lot of good corners in this draft too. There are some guys like Booth. John, I think you had mentioned with him, he's a guy, he's got a lot of talent, but there's some medical concerns. I think it's a core injury, right? That is kind of an issue with him.
So with Booth, so I mentioned like Tevin Jenkins as like a comparison to his overall medical issues, because Jenkins, for example, he had an injury that he dealt with in the final year of his college career, and he dealt with it through the draft profile or the draft process. But it wasn't that injury that basically dropped him down throughout the draft. He ended up going to like the mid-second round. It was some other injuries from his past that really kind of scared off teams with his medical. And the same thing kind of goes with Booth, where he had like some tendonitis issues in high school, and then he had surgery on his patella tendon in his right knee, like in January of 2020. So he's kind of been through it over the past, 4 years since he's been out of high school. And obviously he's been able to play through everything, and he hasn't missed a ton of time because of that. But it only really takes like one injury to really scare off a bunch of teams. And even though that you've been able to play through it and you've been able to recover it, he's still 21 years old with some issues that he's been dealing with. And it could be enough to really bump him down boards and maybe even fall out of the first round entirely.
Yeah.
Well, we've got a listener questions ritual unlike any other. We've got Mr. Terrell on the phone. Terrell, what's going on, buddy?
I just want to say how y'all ladies doing and how you guys doing.
We're doing well. We're doing well. I hope the ladies are doing well, enjoying their time on the show.
Nice, beautiful day. Nice, beautiful day in Cincinnati. I just gotta say, this has gotta be. I know you ain't from Cincinnati though, but the Bengals, it's a football town, man. I gotta tell you that right on. You know what I mean? I know. Burrow and Zach did the first pitch and everything, man. Everything great. You see Chad and Pac-Man, athlete, just bringing good vibes to the city. Chase holding us down. Just everything is going good right now. I just feel like we got at least 3 or 4 best player in the draft. Everybody wants the center. I know everybody wants Sauce Garner, but I think everything gonna fall in line, man. I just believe, like I said, we still the champs. Don't never say. I know it's stacked up in the AFC, but we better than them. So we be ready. Wow. I just want to say who they and y'all have a good one. Have a good show.
All right, thanks, Terrell. Thanks for checking in as always, my friend. Interesting statement to make, especially for all the 3 of you who have or currently reside in the general greater Cincinnati area. Interesting comment to make that this is a football town on Reds opening day. And as he mentioned, Whitney, the tandem of Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor, they were throwing out the first pitch today.
Yeah.
For the Reds.
Did you guys hear the Who Day chants that were happening in Great American?
I did not. Oh.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's pretty cool.
Oh, that almost gives me chills. But for real, I think the Reds owe like Burrow, Chase, Taylor, Higgins, all the guys that were there a big ass gift basket. Sorry, fruit basket, because I know a lot of Reds fans were salty, and Cincinnati's always going to love their Reds to an extent. It's always going to be a baseball town in its blood. But I think there was a lot of fans that were probably pretty unhappy throughout this offseason and then starting today. And then I think Burrow and company probably helped lighten the mood just a little bit.
Just a little. Yeah.
To be excited about. Yeah.
Well, since the start of us recording, they've scored 4 runs and they've tied the game. So yeah, how about that?
Good luck charms right there.
Yeah.
I like it. I want to get your there's a lot of questions I'm starting to see pop up in the live chats and some other places and whatnot, but I want to get your ladies' thoughts on this because we haven't, at least on this show, haven't heard your thoughts on just, and I guess the whole deal with Reds ownership and some criticisms with that, just the evolution of the Bengals and what they have done from a front office standpoint, what they have done from an organizational standpoint in their growth in terms of fan engagement, in terms of engagement of their former players. We're talking about the Ring of Honor. We're talking about all the stuff that they did to celebrate the Bengals Super Bowl appearance. We're talking about now the indoor facility. I guess just with the irritations that the Reds are bringing to their fan base, it now brings to light just how far the Bengals have come as an organization. I do wish we had Jess here because I know she and Cap have a real tight relationship with the organization and whatnot, but I would love to hear both of your ladies' thoughts on just the growth of the Bengals as a franchise and as an organization from those standpoints.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like the fan base feels a lot more heard, just because of some of the changes. I mean, how long have we been asking for a Ring of Honor? How long have we been asking for? I mean, it feels nice. I think it all started to feel like we were being more, we were more a part of things when the social media started to get a lot better, and it was just a lot more engagement with us, and I think that's made it even more special from my perspective.
I think for me, I wondered there for a while when Zach Taylor came in for his interview, right? I remember some of the rumors floating around and some of the quotes coming from the people that were in that interview process about this vision that he sold and, how they bought into him, and I wondered what he said during those meetings because I thought, here's this guy with no experience, really. I mean, not that he doesn't have coaching experience, but he wasn't even a offensive coordinator before this, and he gets the nod. And I thought about it yesterday or the day before. I think what we see unfolding is exactly whatever he sold during that interview. I think we're watching it happen. So now, now that I'm seeing it play out, even though I wasn't a fly on the wall during that interview, I feel like I know exactly what he said because I think he's living it. I think they've had his back since they decided to give him the job. I think they've had his back and let him do what he said he was going to do. So I think it's massively exciting. She's completely right. Kayla's completely right. It does feel a lot more inclusive from a fan base perspective, but also just the entire rewrite of the narrative.
Yep.
I mean, you want to talk about inclusivity with a fan base. Almost exactly a year ago is when I met Whitney for the first time for something that just doesn't happen in the NFL when members of the organization invite 6-7 fans
of course,
to see the jerseys, the new jerseys, the team's new uniforms for the first time before anyone else, and just get that really just special treatment and just recognition of being fans and being supportive of the team in general, and being able to meet Elizabeth Blackburn. Like, obviously Zach is a crucial component, but I think the combination of his arrival and Elizabeth's rise in influence within the organization, it's almost like a 1-2 combo that really just kickstarted just the organization in general. So I we'd like to talk about it a lot, like the fans have an influence and an impact, and just listening to the fans, but it probably has more of an impact than maybe some pessimists might believe. So yeah, I definitely think that's a part of it.
Well, I'll still hate you both for you both being able to go and me not be able to, but that's another story for another time. I'm going to go to this one real quick, and then I will let you ladies choose some questions that we've got. I don't know if you can see all the live chats, but if you see a couple in there, please feel free. But I saw this one from Crypt Keeper here. Hey, guys, as T. Higgins hurt, it looks like he had a sling on his arm at the Reds game. The only thing I can think of, and all of you are welcome to chime in here, there's been talk of a labrum injury that he suffered early in the year, and that's kind of what he fought through. And if you remember, he had a really great middle and kind of end of the season and obviously postseason, but there were a couple of games early after that injury where he kind of was sluggish a little bit in terms of performance, sat out a couple of games too. And maybe there's an off-season cleanup procedure or something that was done here. John, I don't know if you know anything more about that, or ladies, feel free to chime in.
Yeah, he got hurt against the Bears, and it was a shoulder injury that he missed 2 games with. And, he returned, and I don't think he missed another game after like 2 games, but he still was hurt and he was playing through it. And it was always the plan, I think, to have surgery after the season. And he was at a football camp, I think 2 weeks ago, and he had the sling on his arm. And I tweeted out like a picture like, oh, he must have had surgery for that injury. And I don't know why it's now news again because he showed up in a sling at the Reds game. But yeah, he had surgery after the Super Bowl. He's going to be fine for off-season workouts and everything. It was just something that he played through during the season, and it won't affect him going forward.
Awesome. Yeah, this is the time of year they all take care of that stuff.
Pretty much.
Lingering injuries, so.
No. Yeah. There are a few in here, ladies, in the live chat. Do you see any, or have you received any tweets that you want to get to that you're seeing that are piquing your interest here?
I mean, beside John having a Frank Sinatra voice, let me look.
He's a fellow Italian, He's got that baritone.
No, not really. I mean, I would address really quickly this whole concept that Zach Taylor stumbled across Burrow and it saved his career. I get the sentiment, but at the same time, I don't think that's giving Zach enough credit, to be quite honest. He's done a pretty spectacular job. So
it definitely helps. I mean, doesn't hurt.
It does. But I mean, there's also been examples of, coaches that have these incredible quarterbacks that never go to the Super Bowl. So you got
to doesn't live up to the potential. Baker Mayfield.
There we go. Not holding back.
I got a couple that'll tie in here. One was from an email and one is from Dan the Man here. Yeah. Considering there are no, quote, divisions in 82, the Bengals have never won back-to-back division titles. Along with Lions and Falcons, how optimistic are you guys that we finally achieve that this year? To piggyback off of that, there was an email from, who was it? I'll find it here. I promise. Regardless, it was someone talking about, how do you feel the Bengals are building things and how confident are you in where they're headed? Now, on its surface, based on the fact they just made a Super Bowl and we're all fans, we all follow the team and we all want them to do well, it's easy for us to sit here and say, yeah, they're building something special and they're headed in the right direction and maybe a dynasty is in the works here. But I think we also have to be a little bit honest with ourselves and know that the Bengals haven't been the pinnacle of NFL consistency in a lot of different ways. So I guess now, as we laud Zach Taylor and Joe Burrow and all of these, how confident are all of you that this will be a sustainable thing and this will be something that they'll be able to keep the momentum going over the next couple of years, if not longer?
Well, I mean, I got to think that they'll be favored, but I don't think that our division is ever easy, ever. And I think that, the Ravens were significantly injured last year. I think the Steelers are going to be better than we think they were. I mean, they were pretty decent last year. They went to the playoffs. So, it's never going to be easy in the AFC North, I don't think. But I think we should be favored. I think that that's what Vegas will say. I think that we should be, at the top of the list, but it's never easy. So I give it like 70% optimistic, but maybe
you're talking about back-to-back division 70%.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But
I wouldn't want to be any other team. Sorry, John. As far as if you look at the AFC
couldn't have said it better.
Yeah, who else? I feel like we're in the best spot, and sure, we should be favored. I just don't take anything for this coming season for granted at all. I think we've done everything so far correctly to address our glaring holes and where we needed to improve the most. And hopefully we keep making those really good decisions. But I also am I very much understand that people will play you different after you just came back from a Super Bowl run. They're not going to look at you quite the same way. We're not the only team that's improved in the off season. There's been some pretty surprising and good moves, especially in the AFC as a whole.
Right.
But if there's a year that we're going to break that curse, look at all the curses we broke last season. Why not just keep the roll continuing? I think this is the year that we very much could go back to back for the AFC North.
So I think Kayla was alluding to, you can't really finesse, wink, wink, your way through the AFC North. It's just completely, it's competitive every single year. There's a lot of parity that goes with it. Even when the Bengals didn't win a division title from 2015 to 2021, I think if you include every year since Marvin Lewis got there, they've won their fair share of AFC North titles. It's not just been the Ravens or the Steelers dominating. The Browns I don't think have ever won an AFC North division title. So that kind of, goes into all the hype that they get every single year, but they don't really ever really live up to it. But now you have potentially a season where Deshaun Watson might not be suspended because of whatever his civil suits aren't going to get going to trial this year. Kayla said it best, the Ravens are going to get healthier and they're going to bounce back. The Steelers in somehow way, shape or form have never had a losing season under Mike Tomlin. So until that happens, I guess we have to assume they're going to go 8-9 and just be competitive and be this little menace and a pest in the division. So it's going to be tough and it's hard to win a lot of games in this division. But I think, Jamar Chase said it on the I Am Athlete podcast. I'm not really fearing not going back to the Super Bowl so long as you have that quarterback and the pieces around him. Like, you are set up better than most teams to repeat that success. And I think that sustainability factor is underrated when you talk about teams sustaining and getting back and repeating success. So it's definitely tough, but if there's a team built to do so in terms of how their roster is constructed and their youth, it's hard to look better than the Bengals right now.
I would just say that if there was a team that I can envision that would be able to do this, to go back to back and win the division title, to be able to sustain the success that the 1980s crew couldn't regularly maintain, definitely not in the 1990s, and the some of the better teams in Marvin Lewis, this seems to be the team that would be able to do it. And when you look at the offseason acquisitions versus attrition, you really are looking at Larry Ogunjobi and CJ Uzomah as your man, and those are losses. Let's not sugarcoat it. But you also massively, at a minimum, marginally, more than likely, significantly upgraded your offensive line with 3 pieces there, and that was the biggest issue, as we all know. You've got a lot of, because of what you've done in the draft and free agency over the past 2 to 3 off seasons, you've got a lot of your core players already in place and under contract and hitting the primes of their respective careers. So, yeah, I mean, I like where this team's headed. It's really going to be health and not being content with what happened last year and making sure that everybody's kind of still on board with, you know, the goal, the championship goal. And I think they're headed in a good direction. We're going to be here a little while longer, taking some of your questions on the Orange and Black Insider. Happy to be joined by a couple of the hosts of Tigress Talk, a great Bengals podcast. We hope that you go check it out. We put the link, and we will do so again later, to their YouTube channel for you all to subscribe. So please do that. We are missing both Jess and Jerry, 2 other great hosts, but still glad to be joined by Kayla and Whitney of that show. And you can get your questions into us as we stay here a little while longer, 949-542-6241, the obinsider@gmail.com, and a couple of live chats, both the Cincy Jungle Facebook page, our YouTube channel, a live post on cincyjungle.com. We've got a lot of different things moving and shaking here. So please get your questions in. We'll be here a little while longer. John, I saw one that I just kind of want to, it's a general one here. I think it's from Crow Snap. And then I want to let someone else go here. But who's everybody's favorite all-time Bengal? This is just a nice general question for everybody. Whitney, do you want to kick that one off?
No.
Okay.
Well, I think it's hard for I grew up with Ocho Cinco. I mean, like, Chad Johnson is hard to, you know, it's hard for you to say like your favorite, like your all-time, but for me he's iconic. So that would be my answer. But Joe Burrow is it's early, but it's possible.
He's ascending.
Now, I'm jealous of the kids, man, because the kids get Chase and Burrow and Higgins and Mixon, and I feel like that's when you establish who your favorite athletes are, and like those are like your core memories, kind of, which is why Chad would be my answer, because I was like 10 years old when he was lighting up the AFC and stuff like that. So it's hard to deviate off that, even though like Geno and Whitworth are 2 of my all-time favorites. But, you know, I was a little bit older, and like Chad was just more established in my heart. And if Carson maybe finished his career differently, he probably would have been my number 1, because I loved watching him play too. So I really am jealous of like the little kids out there who have their Burrow jerseys and their Chase jerseys, because they're going to make a ton of great memories, man. Like the next generation of Bengals fans are going to have it a little bit better than I think our generations did.
The kids have it good.
Yeah, or you could be jealous of us old people, and the youngins will never appreciate the Munozes of the world near as much as we do. And then give me some Boomer Esiason all day long. I still adore that man's attitude when he hit the field. But yeah, I have a hard time coming off Chad Johnson too, honestly. That's who I would most love to spend time with. But I got to throw out Munoz. He's the quintessential Bengal, right?
Yeah. Love that guy. He's got a great first name too. So I love that guy. Look, I mean, I love all the names. I'm kind of a sucker for a little bit more of the obscure players, or players that maybe didn't get as much recognition. And I kind of look at some of the guys on the 90s teams. I mean, there was, and unfortunately, some of them, ended up not in the greatest graces with the organization and the fan base. But I mean, if you go back and you watch Carl Pickens play football, oh my gosh, if you go back and you watch prime Corey Dillon play football on teams with Scott Mitchell as the quarterback, Scott Mitchell was the quarterback. And you watch Corey Dillon, Scott, exactly. Right. The forgettable lefty quarterback that the Bengals fielded. I mean, those are some of the players there. I mean, those aren't obscure guys, but those are guys that just kind of get lost a little bit because of the teams that are on. Willie, of course, and many others. I got a soft spot for Tyler Boyd on this team. I really like Tyler Boyd. So I don't know, some of those players, and I'm with you, Whitney. There is something about going back and watching Boomer sell a play action pass, the way he was able to sell that and trick the cameraman with regularity. That was something to watch there. So fun question there.
The hair.
Yeah. Oh, the hair. Yes. Boy, not quite a mullet, but like kinda.
It was so flirting with being a mullet. It was mullet adjacent.
So close. Yeah. So close. Where are we going next, John?
So we had a question. I want to combine both of these. So we had a question about the Bengals potentially playing overseas in either London or Munich. And then we had one from Kirsten again. How many primetime games this year do you think the Bengals will have? So I just wanted to get Kayla and Whitney's opinion on potentially playing overseas, because I think the most likely one, or there's two likely ones. There's either playing the Saints in London or playing the Buccaneers in Munich. So first off, did you guys go to the Washington or the Los Angeles game, I think in 2016, 2019 in London, or were you considering it? And would you want to do so this year, even if that's taking the Bengals playing the Saints out of the Superdome, which is a little controversial?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be really happy for our fans across the pond because they're awesome. They're so great. But I would really selfishly be upset for either of them, because I am planning on going to the Tampa game and seeing my friends in Florida, and I would hate for the Saints game it needs to be there. I don't know. But I know that they probably don't want it there because it's going to be a lot of Bengals fans and a lot of Burrow fans, but
all the more
selfishly.
And that is the conspiracy going around.
Yeah.
Yeah, my heart would break for either of those games to go overseas. Yeah. And the sad thing is I'm a big champion actually for us playing in the UK because I love our UK fan base. But I was really extra stoked at the thought of the Bengals playing a game in Germany, because we have the whole Cincinnati thing going on and a lot of German heritage in Cincinnati. And I don't know, I just felt like it was kind of poetic if we get one of the first games over there, but not if it's Tampa Bay or New Orleans. I don't know.
Yeah. Why those two?
Any other game. Put any other game out there.
That'd be cool though if it was on Oktoberfest too in Munich. That would be really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be cool. What about and I know they wouldn't do this because of the usual importance of it, but what about like a divisional game? Because of especially in the AFC North, if you have a Bengals Steelers game out in Europe, so they get to experience what that AFC North rivalry, or maybe even a Steelers Ravens. I mean, I know it's not the Bengals involved necessarily, but I don't know. I think if they're looking to, bring the game abroad and really kind of introduce a lot of fans in Europe to American football, I kind of feel like, in a way, some of these division rivalries, I know it takes away from like the home field advantage and the intensity back here, but I don't know, exposing them to that, I think would be kind of a cool thing.
I am already envisioning. So we're going to get this started, guys. This is what's going to happen from this podcast today. We're going to start the movement. I love it. I think we should have like a Sins, like Cincinnati Sins versus Yens game. Like take the Steelers, throw them overseas. Let's kick their butt on another continent. I am all for it.
But this is the Bengals, like this is their away game against the Steelers, right? You're not taking the Bengals hosting the Steelers, right?
No, but honestly, I would go either way. It's fine, just as long as we get to kick their booties in another time zone on another continent, take that butt whooping international. Yeah.
Hey, we play great on the road, so
yes, we do.
Yeah.
Yins versus Zins.
I like it. There's the title of the
movement.
I like it. That's right. I see this one from Philip McKenzie on the Cincy Jungle Facebook page. I have a question. Why does the national media seem to not be giving us any respect? They all think that we were lucky to get where we went last year. Unfortunately, as we sit here and we've talked dynasty and all kinds of different things, I still feel like there's this, because it's the Bengals, stigma. No matter what we've talked about with the Ring of Honor and all the organizational strides they've made in the past couple of years, Joe Burrow effect, Zach Taylor, the next big Sean McVay type of head coach in the NFL, I still feel that in some outlets and some folks who have covered the NFL for a very long time, there's still this, because it's the Bengals, stigma. I don't know if I'm just, I don't know if I'm reading too much into things, and maybe Philip is listening to the wrong folks talking about the Bengals, but there's still a little bit of a sentiment out there that the Bengals will not be able to come close to repeating what they did last year. And maybe it's also because of what Whitney mentioned, that a lot of teams in the AFC have made a lot of moves this offseason.
I mean, I just don't get that vibe very much. And maybe I'm just watching different programs, but I have it on NFL Network most all day. Confession, it's disgusting. And for the most part, I hear them talking pretty well about us. I mean, there's always going to be the contrary and making the case that we won't, because it doesn't happen often. You don't go back very often for lots of reasons.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I hear those debates, but I don't hear too much trashing on the Bengals, I would say, as a collective when I'm watching NFL Network.
Yeah, I think that I've noticed that the narrative has kind of changed since our playoff run. Once we got that first playoff game off our back, I haven't noticed as much of the trashing us. I mean, sometimes they just won't talk about us when you think you should be in the conversation, but I'm sure a lot of teams feel that way too. So
I think it's getting better.
I do too.
I think there is a little bit of an asterisk of a fluke narrative. I will say that. I have little whiffs of like, was that a fluke? Did all the stars align? Did whatever? If that Cinderella story is something that was indicative of there's actually a change happening in the organization. There's a little bit of a thing starting to happen. It's a new era for the Bengals, or was it a one-off year? There is that, but that's a fair debate. Like that's
yeah.
I mean, it's worth talking about.
Also, I think if you go on NFL Network and you are not complimentary about the Bengals, I think Kay Adams will then like engage in that debate. And no one wants to disagree with Kay Adams because she's phenomenal. But I think Royal Flush Terry kind of said it best a little bit. Dear Bengals fans, please stop looking for quote unquote respect from national media. The national media is not a respectable entity. So let's not get bent out of shape over their opinions. Like when I think of the national media, I think of First Take, and it's Stephen A. Smith yelling over top of Mad Dog Chris Russo. Like that is more or less the national media. It's not really there for nuanced takes or discussions. And I feel like if you are just listening for 30 years and you hear the same thing, when you hear something new, it's hard to like kind of wrap your head around that. But that's what happened last year with the Bengals. Like they were getting respect. They did get some recognition for what they were doing, and then getting into the freaking Super Bowl after what they did for the previous 2 years. Like there was respect going around, and now it's about, can they sustain it? And that's going to be the discussion for months to come until we get an answer about it. Yeah, this is what it is.
Yeah.
We'll be here a couple more minutes answering your questions, hanging out with Whitney and Kayla of Tigress Talk, two of the four great hosts of that YouTube program. And I think this is the second generous chat question from Mr. Whisper of the show here. Is it fair to say that Zach Taylor's critics, that Zach has not unleashed his playbook yet because of the bad O-line? They couldn't even get a 5-step drop. Someone else had mentioned, Joe Burrow having 2.5 seconds on dropbacks and whatnot. I don't know. Kayla, I'll start with you on this one. I mean, do you think now we're going to see an even more explosive offense, a different offense because of the offensive line? I mean, it seems like a fairly obvious statement. I would think so, but I guess in terms of expanding the playbook because of the offensive line, I guess that facet of the question warrants answering.
I mean, I think we can see what Zach wants to do and what he wants the offense to look like. I think that because of the O-line, I think that he's maybe had to change what he wanted to do at times. But so I think we'll see some different things for sure. But I think we know kind of the vision of what he is wanting to do. I think we've had plenty of time to see that.
Yeah.
This couple of years.
Yeah, I think his style, he's made his style known for sure. His style or his ideology, whatever you want to call it, his philosophy. But I do think we were limited on what types of plays we could run or how successful we could run them and how often we would go to certain plays because of our limited capabilities there. So I think there will be a difference. Personally, I kind of hope that there's a few tricks up our sleeve, not tricks like trick plays, but you know what I mean? I hope there is a little bit more that we bring to the playbook this year, just because I do think what we were talking about earlier, you got to step up your game significantly when you made a run like we did last year, because teams are going to come ready and bring their best. And so I think that we almost have to evolve a little bit in our offensive strategy.
Yeah, I think this is like the phrasing of this question is interesting to me because I feel like the playbook more or less is the same. It's just the situational play calling might look different. And I think a lot of people were frustrated last year about the over tendency to run in certain situations when it was clear that he was just hiding the offensive line when it couldn't pass protect in very important situations. Like I think about that Bears game when it was just very quick drops, very quick passes, and the Bears were just picking up on it, and they weren't respecting the passing game at all because they couldn't block the Bears pass rush. And it was very evident that the offensive success was dependent on how good is the opposing team's pass rush. And that's why in the playoffs, it was mainly just the defense getting the job done, the offense being pretty average at best. So when you inject more offensive line talent with this current offensive scheme and its system, I think the things that they want to do will look more consistent and you will see less running and maybe some more obvious passing situations. And that in itself should just increase the overall efficiency of the offense. But I don't think the playbook will look that much different. I think you'll just see more efficiency because naturally you'll get that with a better offensive line.
I'm excited. So I kind of view this in Zach Taylor's time in Cincinnati. The offensive line is kind of this baby step project, right? I mean, it was just a mess his first year. And then here we go last year. The talent wasn't necessarily there, but bringing back Frank Pollock, you saw a cut down of the dumb penalties, the holding, and all of that from years prior. So you had less of those crushing instances that would kill drives, but you still had the massive amount of negative plays, whether it was in the run game, sacks, what have you. And so this year now you've got 3 new starters on the offensive line. So you would hope and think that not only now with improved coaching from Pollock being there and guys that are still starting from last year on this offensive line being more comfortable with that whole philosophy, you now bring in more capable offensive linemen, and you would hope then that the crushing negative plays that would force you to kick long field goals, force you to kick field goals in general, would be lessened, and then you're getting into the end zone more frequently. And as we know in the postseason, that's kind of what killed them a little bit, is their lack of ability to get into the end zone, and they were settling for field goals because Joe Burrow was getting sacked so often. They were just not getting a lot of big chunk plays with regularity. So hopefully that's something I see that just changes in terms of this question and the offensive line additions that they've made. I think we had another super chat here from it's not really a question, it's just Socks given the 2 cents there. Tomlin kicking a kick returner in London would be classic. Yeah, they're the Steelers. They like to do things a little differently sometimes.
They're special.
That's just the yellow card over there. Like, I mean, it's a flag.
And it's very appropriate, by the way, that Socks's YouTube super chat here is the box is colored yellow. Talking about the Steelers there. Nothing less appropriate than that. John, how are we looking here? Are you seeing a couple of others that we want to get to before, or ladies, do you see some others that I may have glossed over here?
I don't know, but I have a question for you guys as far as what did it end up being a 50+ yard throws or completions by Joe Burrow? Wasn't he in the lead or led the league with that, or was it 20+ yards? I don't know. My point and my question is, this year with an improved O-line, is it just going to be nuts? Is it going to be even more of that? Do you think we double down a little bit and there's a little bit less, slice and dice, or there's conservative play calls and a little more bombs down the field, or what?
I don't have the numbers in front of me. John would probably be a little bit more in tune with it than I would, but I do remember Joe Burrow being one of, if not the best deep ball passer or big play passer last year. And I think, some of those are deep balls. Some of those are shorter passes that Chase took a long way. I mean, we know all of that, but you would expect that would even improve upon that based on the perceived improvements along the offensive line there. So, yeah, I mean, I'm excited to kind of see that. I do think that maybe to the chagrin of some, I don't think they're going to try and run more with Joe Mixon, I think, but I think there's going to be just a little bit more effectiveness in that standpoint, because if you notice, there were so many times where he just would get hit in the backfield right as he's getting the handoff. And so that eliminating that facet and allowing him to at least get a little bit more space, which is what I hope happens, I think you're going to see an improvement in that aspect, which I think will just help things in general, balance things out a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I would expect that there's going to be a similar, if not improvement on the deep ball, right, John?
So the biggest improvement that I think you'll see from an offensive line is more the intermediate passing plays and those concepts, because those are the ones that take really the most time to develop. With deep passes, it worked a lot because of the timing between Burrow and Chase, mainly Chase and Higgins as well, but mostly just Chase, because that connection was so strong for the jump that you had these, because most of these vertical routes, it's just 3-step, 5-step drop at the top of the drop. You let it go because Chase is down the field at a certain point, and that's when you release the ball. And so that timing, the connection was always so pristine, which is why you had, Whitney was right. Like, he had 14 touchdowns of passes of 20 plus yards or more, and that led the league more than like Kirk Cousins and Matthew Stafford, who were second and third. Like, he was incredibly productive despite a bad offensive line with the deep ball, because that timing and that connection was so good. And you saw kind of a decrease in production on those intermediate routes from his rookie year, because those are the ones where it takes a little bit more timing for the routes to develop, and you need time from your offensive line to hold up in that sense. So I think that is where you'll see the biggest jump if the offensive line is as good as we think it is. But yeah, it is hard though to repeat that production from a deep passing standpoint. But I think because you have that connection kind of ingrained there, like, they'll always be productive in that sense. It might not be as nutty though as it was last year.
Yeah. There's a couple more, and we will bounce out of here because of time and whatnot. I got to share this, because check out this commenter's name on Cincy Jungle right here. John Sheeran's biggest fan.
Oh my God.
They found my burner.
The question, that's what I was going to say. Is that, is that John behind the scene? I mean, it's a little bit of kind of what we talked about here, but with an improved offensive line and Joe Burrow's first full off season coming up. That facet is one that is kind of going overlooked here. How much better do you see this offense being compared to last year? I think we talked about this maybe either last week or on the last listener question show, but the facet of Joe Burrow having a full off season, no injury, at least not a major one like last year, and no COVID pandemic at its height to deal with. I would think that that's now going to continue to build on everything we've been talking about in terms of another special season brewing next year. I don't know what you ladies think. Kayla, I'll let you kind of talk about that as John bathes in someone naming themselves this screen name.
I'm looking up this account. Hold on a second.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna be hard to be a lot better than, going to the Super Bowl. But like, I think that there were times when our offense, was kind of frustrating to watch, because it felt like Joe Burrow was getting sacked like every 5 seconds. So I think that it's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be a lot more of a peace of mind too. I think we all have collective PTSD from the injury that happened. So I think that it's just gonna be different. So
Whitney?
I just think so many, I mean, our entire core of our offense is coming back. The only thing that's changing is an improved O-line, really. Or unless you want to throw Uzomah as a major loss. But honestly, I love him, but I think we stay pretty level at that position. So yeah, I think we do improve. I mean, it was Chase's freaking rookie year. Rookie.
21.
That's wild. It's wild.
21 years old.
Yeah. And so you have to think that he learned something after a year in the league, and that he'll come back as good or improved. And Joe Burrow, we already know one of his trademarks is that he comes back better. He works as harder than most in improving his game. You still got Higgins and Boyd, so it's not like you have any new chemistry there to figure out at all. I think that our O-line is going to establish themselves well and early because it's the first time where we haven't been playing musical chairs throughout beginning into the regular season with our offensive line. I think we'll know pretty much out of the gate where everybody's position is and who's starting. That's a huge advantage, and Frank having time with them. So, yeah, I think we do come back. I think we have to because of everything that we talked about earlier. People are going to play us different. We have the 7th hardest schedule. We better be better, but I think we will be.
John, do you want to address your burner? Or
I couldn't look it up in time. Let's go ahead and move on, though. I wanted to get to this one last super chat from Stuart Monty.
Yeah, Whitney's the queen of the segue there, mentioning this name.
Oh. So, how are you guys feeling about the loss of CJ Uzomah? His locker room, he was a huge strength. He will take over. Yada, yada, yada. I want to get your guys' thoughts on Dave Lapham kind of burning the bridge there and spilling some non-existent tea about claiming that Uzomah was dating Kay Adams, and that's the reason why he jettisoned for the Jets. Why did he say that? Why did he lie? Or did you think that he knew something that none of us did?
Yeah, that was wild.
Yeah. I mean, you shouldn't drink on the job. I don't know. I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know what he heard. I don't know what possessed him. No, I don't know. But go ahead, Kayla. What did you want to say?
No, I wish CJ the best of luck. The Jets, man. I mean, I really loved Carl Lawson and I loved CJ, and it's hard, obviously, to lose CJ. He was just an infectious attitude and fun personality. Always gives a great interview and someone that we all kind of latched on to for those reasons too, as well as what was on the field. But I mean, as far as leaders, I think we have so many leaders on the team. I think DJ Reader's a great leader. I mean, I don't think that is going to take a big step back, and I don't think that I like what we're doing, and as much as I wish him luck and we'll miss him, I don't know. I think that it's fine.
Yeah, I think the culture's too established at this point. It's bigger than any one person.
Exactly.
As much as I love CJ, and was devastated by the news to an extent, I don't think it changes the locker room at all.
I couldn't have said it better myself. But yeah, I guess we're got to prepare for the Jets signing Jesse Bates next year. This is just
apparently.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Jets are the new Bills, right? I mean, it's just like, oh my gosh, it's just player trade outs. I mean, I guess when you look at the on-field, I mean, and Uzomah did a lot on the field, both in the postseason and in the regular season. But I think that can be far more easily replicated, or the statistics can be replicated. There is that element of what he was doing in the locker room, and he kind of was that vocal leader. He was the guy that kind of coined all the catchphrases for this special season. But like you all said, there's a lot of young star leaders in this locker room, and while he will be missed, I don't think it's going to be something that there's going to be much of a beat missed in terms of leadership. There's probably going to be others that will ascend to that level and do different things to help fill that void. We do wish CJ well. He was a fan favorite. He was a guy that was definitely a big part of what the Bengals did. But you all mentioned Carl Lawson. That was a guy everybody was crying about that they lost, and they brought in this Trey Hendrickson guy to try and replace him. And that didn't turn out too poorly for the Bengals either. Not saying Hayden Hurst will replace everything that CJ Uzomah did, but they made it work somehow last year in losing a player that we all were sorry to see go, and they made it work. So that's going to wrap it up. We're coming up on an hour. We went a little long here, but we got to a lot of different questions in a lot of different ways. And of course, as we are leaving, our numbers are increasing in terms of live viewers. But sorry, you were late. I can't help you. Ladies, thank you so much for coming on the program. If you would, once again, tell us where people can follow you on Twitter. And I am going to, in the meantime, also pull up your YouTube channel and share the link to that for Tigress Talk.
Yeah, you can find me at K-Swelbs, and you can find we have a Tigress Talk at Tigress Talk Pod on Twitter.
Yeah, and you can find me at Bengals Whitney.
Awesome. So
628 subscribers is not enough, guys. Like we have a ton
Not
of subscribers
enough.
here. So take your computers and go to Tigress Talk on YouTube and hit the subscribe button. Let's get them to 1,000. Let's get that giveaway. Let's get the game worn jersey given out.
Let's do it. They're more generous than we are. We don't do a ton of giveaways. So they are far more generous, as evidenced by their giving up of their time and coming on this program and showing us some love. We appreciate you both coming on. Give our best to both Jess and Jerry, and we will try and get them on in the near future as well. But we appreciate what you do on your show. We appreciate what you do for the Bengals community. You are awesome to follow and interact with on Twitter. I'm terrible at Twitter, so don't take offense if I don't interact the best. But that's just me. But I do monitor the Bengals community, and you both, as well as Jess and Jerry, are very prominent members of it on Twitter. And we thank you for that and your great show, and appreciate the time today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, let's make it a regular thing for sure. It'd be fun. Get you back on and talk all things Bengals, and hopefully talk about in the near future how well things are going once again in 22. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
John, thanks for coming on. I think you have another show that you are going to be on this evening as well, correct?
Yeah, if you guys want to stay on YouTube, we are about to go live with my two favorite puppets. So we got a show for that. And yeah, check us out there at DNH Sports.
Tell those guys what's up for me as well. Ladies, take care. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks for submitting your questions. We will be back tomorrow night on our show, as we do on Wednesday nights. Join us for that, and we will see you all then. Take care.